This week from Plum of the Trenches, we're going to go back to Indiana. It's a little Justin Williams singing there. We're going to get to know the areas. We're going to see one of Dave Comer's flips, who is a student in the house flipping formula. It's going to be awesome. The reason we're there in Indianapolis was like threefold. We're there to learn the market, meet with acquisition manager and do some training with an acquisition manager. And also, we were selling a house and buying a house. So I did that while I was there as well. We had a rental car, and I think I rented like a mid-size, like you always do. And every time, true to form, they don't have the car that you reserved. So they're always like, "Oh, Mr. McFarland, can we put you into a..." And then the guy goes, "Let's see. Would you mind if we put you into a passenger van?" And I was like, whatever. It's like 10:30 at night, and we travel all day.
How did he say it?
He said, "Would you mind if we put you into a passenger van?" And I said, "No."
So you're like, "Oh, van."
Yeah, I'm like, "Whatever. I'm cool. Van. Let's like, it's late, right? We've been traveling all day." I'm like, "I don't care. Give me a van." And the guy goes, "Let's see. Would you mind if we put you into a passenger van?" That part he mumbled over was passenger.
A 14-passenger van.
Our passenger van was bigger than the hotel shuttle.
Hotel shuttle. Our van.
And
That's
a little
right.
bit nicer, huh?
Hotel shuttle's got nothing on us.
We woke up early that next morning. I had some time, so I read, because I read in the morning. Dave is a friend of mine. He's actually a coaching student in the house flipping formula.
Going to see Indy.
Beautiful day.
I met him over a year ago in California at our event we did, at the mastermind event we did. So he's been kind of a friend ever since then, and he lives and does flips in Indianapolis. So he's just a wealth of knowledge because he's lived there for like 14 years. So he agreed graciously to drive us around all day, like 6 or 7 hours. So when we were driving around, I wanted him to tell us about every area that we were going into, what the good parts of it were, what the bad parts of it were. And since I didn't know the areas at all, I had to like get a look at it from like a bird's eye view. So I wanted to see on a map where it was. So I kept going to my phone and clicking on my Google map, or like the blue dot that says where you are. So I would there and I would screenshot it. So I was taking the video and I would screenshot it so I would know where I was in the whole Indianapolis area.
Like 5 screens in there. You don't even want to go to the drive-in because it's such a bad area.
Oh yeah. So we were talking about this. Roger, who is our acquisition manager there now, he said that he had just moved to Indianapolis like a year ago, and he was like, "Oh, me and my niece," he said, "we wanted to go to a drive-in." She Googled it, she found there's a drive-in there, and that was the drive-in movies. And Dave was like, "You don't want to go to this drive-in movie. Like, this is in the hood. Like, you definitely don't want to be here." He's like, "Yeah, we figured this was kind of a rough area, but that's what we did. We drove by it, and it's like got 5 screens, but it's you don't want to be there. Don't want to be there."
You know, you're getting close when all the restaurants and all that stuff are boarded up as well. Now here, Holmes, this street is, we had an appointment out here and the guy never showed, but it was, I mean, I wouldn't have gave $3,000 for the place.
So this street right here, some of these houses are like,
Yeah, I mean,
no thanks.
you see these sell for 3, 4, 5,000 all the time.
Really?
That's so insane. You always hear, I remember infomercials and stuff back in the day anywhere where you hear about like auctions and stuff like that where people are buying homes for like dirty cheap, like a few $1,000s. And I never thought, especially nowadays, right? Like, it's crazy to hear that there are houses that are that inexpensive. Obviously they're totally beat up, but
That was one of my huge takeaways from this. The other markets that I'm in, there's nothing like that. But in Indianapolis, actually seeing and driving around and having him say right here, these houses go for $2,000 or $3,000. There are houses that don't make any economic sense because of the repairs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like, if you got a house that's worth $20,000 fixed and it needs $40,000 worth of repairs, what's it worth? Nothing. Negative $20,000. And that's the case with some of these neighborhoods, that they're so bad and the houses are so old and beat up that they're literally not worth fixing up. You'll drive around some of these areas and you'll see boarded up
really
houses
sad.
and you don't want it for free. If somebody wants to deed it to you, you don't want it because you don't want to be responsible for the property taxes in certain parts of town. Which is, again, why I wanted to go to Indianapolis and see the stuff on the ground, because you got to know, is this an area where I don't want it for free, or is this an area where I'm getting a ripping deal? And when you're talking prices for $2,000, you might be thinking, yeah, I'm ripping it, or you might be thinking, I don't want it, I'm overpaying, and I don't even want it in my name.
Yeah.
That was like a huge kind of aha, and I kind of knew that going into it, but seeing it made it make sense.
Like solidified that idea.
It solidified
like
it, which is why I
really...
had to go. I've never even seen that before, where it's like a house is not worth anything. But truly there are houses that are not worth anything. There's a program that's really cool, and it's a little app that you can click on it, and even if you're not a real estate agent, you can see all of the active and under contract houses around you. So he's like, when Dave's like, let me see, he's pulling that app up. It's literally seeing where we are location-wise and just populating houses around us. So that's what he's going to tell us right now. Oh, this house is 100,000, 200,000.
This is like the
Let me see,
hood.
look. That's where we're at. 12, 32, 29.
He's like literally looking at live information via that app. So we'll see that throughout.
Does it help sold prices and everything too?
It used to have sold, but
is
they
it just
changed it.
current listing?
It's active and under contract now.
Okay, still
But
though.
still, like, that gives you a pretty good picture, right?
Yeah.
All these houses right here, I mean, you pick them up for 5 or less.
And you wouldn't even want them. What are they worth fixed? Like 30?
30, 40. Depending how big they are.
Not even worth putting the money into them. Like this guy right here, why is he wasting his time?
You need to know where you're at and where you're buying. But that also leads to good potential profit, right? Because that's not an efficient market. What's a house worth? It's very ambiguous what a house is worth, just in general in real estate, but especially in Indianapolis. Because you can show your house is worth $40,000, you can show the house is worth $20,000. Certain streets, it depends on where you're pulling your comparables from. And if you don't know what it's actually worth, then you're the guy that might get stuck.
How much are these houses? Ish.
I think these are in the 170s, if not more.
Wow, really?
No, we're 200s here.
200s, these houses.
150, 229, 320, 289. So we're kind of from 180s up to, oh hell, there's a $700,000 one.
700?
But there's one under contract that we're coming up to for 300. That one we just passed, selling for $12,000. $12,000, $29,000, $14,000.
What the heck? Because they don't look that bad. They're like,
It's just
newer.
just
Look at
not
that.
good people that live here. Is that why?
Yeah,
That's not good.
it's just nobody wants to live in the area.
We were recording down there and inside of the loop, and then I had a closing at like 11 or 11:30 that morning, so we had to jump up and get on the freeway and go to the closing, the title company. I bought a house and sold a house that day. And generally I do that from just remotely. I go in and get notaries and do remote closings. But since I was there in town, I thought, might as well sell it. Might as well sell the house and buy the house in person. And they were kind of surprised, oh, hey, because we've been doing stuff for a few months. They're like, oh, hey, it's you, you're here. And it was also strategic because we wanted to meet them and kind of put a face to a name and vice versa. So that was good. Another reason I was here is I wanted to figure out if I wanted to keep some long-term rentals in Indianapolis, because it's a great cash flow market. The rent ratios, if you can buy a house for $50,000 fixed that you can rent for $800, that's a good return on investment. If you can buy that house that's worth $50, if you can buy it for $25, you're even better off. But I wanted to know from that day driving around, do I want to own rentals there, one? And if I do, what areas do I want to own rentals in? Because I know my management style, even though this would be managed by property managers, and I know the type of tenants and things that I like to have in my properties, and engaging for appreciation and just all those things. And I was just trying to feel out neighborhoods of where, if anywhere, would I want to be in Indianapolis.
What was your thought after you left?
For me personally,
Would you buy anywhere? Would you like to hold any rentals anywhere in Indianapolis?
yes. I think for somebody that wants to be management intensive, it's a great cash flow market, and you can make money on even these older properties. There's great rent ratios. For me, I lean more towards more of the outskirt stuff, suburb stuff that sells for a little bit more money and doesn't necessarily, something that you can buy for $100,000 that rents for $1,200.
See, I like this little community. Yeah, this seems fun.
Oh, yeah. I'd rehab in here all day long.
Yeah, decent place. I love the trees and stuff.
You're going to get a better quality tenant, and
It's
you're
like we've
probably
talked
going to get a newer
before,
house.
like A, B, and C properties, right? Would you say like an A or a B rather
Yeah.
than like a C?
Yeah, and here you've got D's.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, D's and F's, right?
So we're talking like B's, maybe C's.
Yeah, B's,
Not necessarily
B's, B plus,
Okay.
yeah, A minus, because you can get an A property for. I mean, I would say one of the A properties would probably be a house for $180,000 on a golf course.
200 grand, huh? On a golf course.
Shy.
A little shy of 200 grand. You're on a golf course. That's awesome.
But that house might only rent for $1,200, $1,300.
Gotcha.
Which that's not a great ratio, but you're going to get good tenants there. It's a newer house and it's going to perform well for you. But somebody might say, well, I can get a same house that's going to rent for $1,200 for 80 grand. It's a different house. You're going to pay 80 for it, you're going to pay 180 for it. Well, 180 is going to be a better neighborhood, better families, better quality renters, right?
Yeah.
But it just depends on how management intensive you want to be.
Is
I
part of
know
the
it's-
difference also like the likelihood of greater appreciation?
I would say that Indianapolis, I wouldn't expect a lot of appreciation in any of the areas.
Oh,
Definitely
really?
not the lower grade areas. Just like in most cities, the lower grade areas aren't going to appreciate very well at all. But the higher grade stuff, it will appreciate better. But it depends on where you're at. Indianapolis, Indiana in general, I don't know that it's going to be going up as high. Definitely not as like a California or as a Vegas or an Arizona. And Utah's great population growth and business and all that stuff too. So if you want to own for appreciation, pick a different market. If you want to own for maybe a little bit of appreciation and
But
good cash flow,
stability.
stability and cash flow and value, right there, Indianapolis.
So you walked away thinking Indianapolis.
for sure.
Certain areas.
Certain areas. If you're just looking for returns, solid returns and stable market, Indianapolis is good. We drove through Eagledale, went outside of the loop to a place called Brownsburg, which is a good little suburb. Similarly aged homes as what we saw in Eagledale, but these ones they sell for a higher price. This price point in this area is $110,000 to $135,000, depending on some finishes and stuff. But there's still all those 1,000, 1,200 square feet houses, maybe a garage, maybe not a garage. So this is a little flip property he picked up, and he told me the numbers on it. He bought it for $47,000. He totally gutted it and did like everything to it, roof, the whole bit. He spent $40,000 fixing it. Then he sold it for $113,000. So it's about a $26,000 gross profit, but he paid like $6,000 in like real estate commissions and some closing cost stuff. Then he paid another $5,000 in interest. So he's netting about $15,000 on this particular deal. Not bad for $87,000 investment to make $15,000. That's not too bad.
Has he done a lot of flips?
So Dave's been doing it for about a year now, and I think he's probably done 12 to 15 flips.
Oh wow, nice.
So he's been taking some serious action, and he does a great remodel. We went and saw this one, and this is indicative of his flips. He's not just a junk rehabber. He does a solid job. I mean, if you bought one of his rehab properties, I think you'd be getting a solid property. Tell us the story. So what are we going to see here in a second, Dave?
A Ford GT40 worth about 90 grand next to a $60,000 house.
You drive the same area out to your flip probably for months, and he noticed that. And he's a little more of a car guy because he knew what that was. I don't even know what that is, but knew it was a $90,000 car parked in front of a $60,000 house.
I think it's right over there. Here it is.
There's right there. There's a nice $90,000 blue car.
Get a garage.
$60,000 house.
Get a garage.
So that was Dave's flip. You want to see a property that we bought actually that day?
Yeah, and you got
And
one.
I'm going to see it for the first time. I've never seen this property before. The funny thing about this is,
When did you buy this?
that day. I went to the title company and signed. I sold a property and I bought a property. And this property that we're driving to right now was a property we bought that day. I'd never seen it. We'd seen pictures of it. And we were actually planning on flipping this property. So we're going to go check it out for the first time. The reason why we took it down, bought the house actually, was because we were going to flip it. Because we sent it out to our list at $30,000. We were trying to wholesale it, make a $10,000 profit. And nobody was buying it at that. I literally called or texted Luke and I was just like, do we still have $24,000 live money on that? Had we not been there on the ground in person and just happened to go buy it and in it, these passengers van through the windows.
Oh yeah.
It's so ridiculous us driving
Your space
around
shuttle.
man.
Looks.
It's so ridiculous.
It's the Challenger. Reminds me of a shuttle.